when you meet somebody, one of the quickest questions that come up, whether they have a nice car, a family, kids, doesn't matter. One of the quickest questions that come up is, what do they do for a living? And I think that that's one of the most fucked up things that you can. I'm starting to think it's one of the most screwed up things you can ask somebody is, what do they do for a living? Because think about it. Just because what they do for a living to make ends meet has no relationship to who they are or what their goals are or what they want to accomplish. Just think about that for a second. Everybody does it. I'm guilty of it too. I'm guilty of it because, and I'm talking about it right now because it comes up all the time. What do you do for a living? Because not you're not going to ask anybody how much money that they make at the end of the day. Most people, it's a respect thing that you don't ask somebody how much money that they make, but you're just curious of how much money you're curious of that. And it's not about how much money they make. You're curious about anybody's occupation. And at the end of the day, it's fucking irrelevant, right? Why don't we ask better questions than, what do you do for a living? Why don't we ask, do you have a family? Do you have a kids? What are your hobbies? Why don't we ask, what drives you? What gets you up in the morning? What makes you want to go work out every day? Oh, maybe you were 500 pounds and you got down to 250 pounds and you lost a bunch of weight. Why don't we start there? We're always asking these, and they're not stupid ass. It's not a stupid ass question, but we're always asking these cursory ass questions. It's small talk at the end of the day, and everybody does it. But you're curious of what somebody does for, or what they're doing right now. Especially when you meet an old friend, you're like, what are you doing right now? You don't look at somebody's body or somebody's physique or whatever and be like, oh, this guy's in shape or whatever. What's your workout regimen or what have you? Like, what are you doing to keep yourself in shape? No, at the end of the day, there's something in our brains, and it is fucked up as all can be, that's like, oh, is he making any money? Or what's he doing with himself? Especially when you see old friends, just and just when you meet people in general, you're just like, oh, I see your kids. What do you do? How are you raising your kids? Like, how can you afford to raise kids? And that's not the right question to ask. That is not the right question. The better question to ask is, what do your kids like to do? Or what do you like to do with your kids? Like, we are so fucked up, and this is a westernized thing, I think, that we ask, what do you do for a living? I think that is extremely, it's screwed, because it's an extremely cursory question, and you don't get down to anybody's being, right? You don't get down to anybody's being. You don't get down to who anybody is, what value they see themselves, or what value they want to provide in the world, what vision they have for their lives. We ask what they're doing for a living, which is a joke. What if they're just trying to make ends meet, doing something that they're not passionate about or what have you? Why don't we ask, what are you passionate about? That's a better question. What somebody does for a living can be means to an end, right? And to label somebody for what they're doing for a living is kind of, and we do it subconsciously. It's a screwed up thing at the end of the day. It's a really screwed up thing. But we're always curious at the end of the day. We all are. I'm guilty of this just as well as anybody else is. I'm guilty as just as anybody else is, because people ask me, hey Jay, how you doing? Blah blah blah. I saw you're lifting weights or what have you. Blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, I'm lifting motherfucking weights and I'm throwing dick and balls. I'm lifting weights. I'm throwing dick and balls. What's good? Cuz you trying to go get some food somewhere? What's the deal? But that's an aside, right? I say all this because I quit my job, right? And I wonder what people are gonna ask me that immediately. Like, what have you been up to? What are you doing right now? Blah blah blah. And to me, it doesn't. Or what are you doing? And specifically, When people ask you that question, and this is the fucked up part, they are wanting to know what you do for money, right? They're wanting to know what you do for money. And sometimes what you do for money is within your system of your what you're passionate about and what you like to do. Sometimes people are doing what they love to do. There's people that do hair that love to do hair, and sometimes people are doing things just to do things right now. And I think that that's the worst question to ask anybody, to meet anybody, is what you do, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day. At the end of the day, we want to get down to somebody's being and who they are, whether we can have a relationship with them, whether there's a point to there's a connection and you get along and we can push each other. And at the end of the day, you want to develop relationships with people that you want to push each other to get to the next point and improve their lives. What somebody's doing right now might, what somebody is doing at any point in time might not be what they like to do or what they love to do. I'm glad if you meet people that are doing what they love to do. That's a rare thing. It doesn't, in our society right now, that is not what's happening. That's just not what's happening at the end of the day. Most people are trying to make ends meet at the end of the day. And I was doing the same thing. And I was working at Chick-fil-A, and I'm not gonna, I can't, I don't have anything bad to say about working at the Chick-fil-A that I worked at. Some people have worked at worse or better Chick-fil-A's or whatever, but the environment, and I worked at other restaurants too, but the environment that I worked at the Chick-fil-A that I was at, was very, very welcoming. It was very, very welcoming, as well as an environment to where it wasn't judgmental if you ask questions and things of that nature. It was a good place to work. And I have no regrets about working at the Chick-fil-A that I worked at. I'm very blessed that I had that experience, because I want to provide that. I think about me in the future or whatever. I want to provide that for people and give them a segue to know that you can create this for yourself. You can create a culture that is conducive to a healthy workplace. You can really, really do that. And that's kind of what I experienced with Chick-fil-A. Even though I had my frustrations and things like that, they're kind of irrelevant, because it's not even, none of it was a big deal. I didn't get fired. I didn't do anything that was so egregious or anything like that. I got stressed out and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, I worked at a good company. And I'm glad that I have that experience, because now I can move forward, and I can take that with me, put it in my pocket, and I can try to produce that for the world. And now I think about, and I say all this because now I think about, people are going to ask me, even my parents or what have you, because I do live with my parents. People are going to be like, oh, what are you doing? Like, are you making any money? Are you doing that? I literally don't give a fuck about money. I do, but I don't. I care about money in very, very specific things. I care about the vehicle that money provides me. And at the end of the day, I don't hang myself up on with anybody how much money that they're making, because it depends on the state that they live in. There's so many things that go into it. They might not even have a house. They could be renting. They could not have shit at the end of the day. But what's more important is, do they like what they're doing? Or are they getting burnt out by what they're doing? And do they feel like they are contributing? Do they feel like they're adding value to people and society around them, and not just being worried about making money and doing a job that they get so caught up in that they're not worried about, you're human. We're all human, and nobody is better than anybody, and we're all trying to get to a better place. And can you help somebody, or can you have a conversation that leads to productivity instead of negativity, right? Oh, you work here. That's a low level. Nah, man. Nah. That's screwed up. That's screwed up. And we fuck up because we asked that question initially about what what are you doing? What are you doing to make money? And it does it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter, because at the end of the day, we're all going to die. The sun's going to burn out, and uh, nobody's going to remember us. We're all going to be gone. But alas, I took some hammer throws. The most frustrating thing with me right now is that I take some good throws, and I don't take consistent throws that are good or that are close, right? And I don't care how far the ball's going. I care where the ball is going. And I care where my body is when the ball is going where it's going, right? And I have to figure out a way to put together more consistent throws. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing, but I I love this shit to death, and I'm going to keep on at it. And I could have given up a long time ago, and I think about that all the time. But I'm still here. So working on that, working on getting stronger. I didn't work out today, but it was one of those days to where uh, I've done enough this week. I'm going to do some more tomorrow. I'm going to plan and make sure that the week, tomorrow is Sunday. I'm going to plan and make sure that the week is planned out so that I am efficient with my time, and I'm going to get better. That's one thing that I do know. I'm going to get better one day at a time. And that's the one thing that I ask for from anybody. Do you want to stay in the same place, or do you want to grow? Or are you trying to grow? It doesn't matter how much money you're making or what you're doing right now or anything. It matters of what are you trying to get to? Where are you at right now? How can our relationship help benefit each other to get us to the point where we want to be? And we're not asking good enough questions. We're not trying to figure out what the fuck we're doing. Trying to figure out what the fuck we're doing to make money. Why don't we ask about what your dreams are? What are your aspirations? Like, there's so many ways to go about this, and I know I'm generally spitballing, but there's so many ways to go about this. And I just realized that I am a part of the problem because I ask people the same question. Because we're curious. We all are. What do you do for a living? I got distracted from the main subject, but we only got 15,000 steps in today. Like I said, I think we do have a plan to make this actually work. Kind of frustrating. I know I can get over 10,000 pretty easily, but the 20,000, and the reason why I chose 20,000 is because it's a stretch. Even I could lay my hat on 15,000, but I wanted to do 20,000 because it's a stretch. And if I land somewhere between 15,000 and 20,000, that's fine with me. That is 100% fine with me. But I had to, there's times in life where you need to stretch yourself, and this is one of those times where I got to stretch myself in order to see what's possible and see what I'm capable of. But alas, that's just about all I got. You already know what the deal is. Run on your toes, keep your mouth closed, lock your doors, and save your throws, and most importantly, live fight another day.